Welcome to Always Outnumbered, Never Outgunned. I am your host, Austin Owens. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. We're here with our guest today, Vince Radisek. He placed third at the DekaFit World Championships within his A group. He competed in powerlifting meet just weeks later. He's done Spartan races, and he's an absolute athletic monster. I'm proud to call him my friend. Vince, thanks for being here.
Absolutely, Austin. Appreciate the gracious intro.
The gracious intro, yeah. Let's dive right in, man. Why don't you explain to everybody what DekaFit is and how you were training for Worlds?
Yeah, absolutely. So DekaFit's a newer sport. It's a hybrid endurance strength type of sport. We call it hybrid racing. It's put on by Spartan, so they do the traditional obstacle course racing. But DECA stands for 10. There's 10 functional fitness zones. So this is like an indoor race, not like a traditional Spartan would be outside. But the 10 zones are always the same. There's just 3 different length races. And essentially, it's just different lengths of running between each zone. So in the longest version of the race, it's a total of a 5K of running. So you run 500 meters before each implement. The middle length race, it would be a total of a mile of running. So it's 160 meters between each implement. And then the shortest one, there would just be no running. You would just do each functional zone back to back.
That's my style.
You were surprised, actually, like getting that little bit of time in between to like regulate your heart rate on like the middle race and that run a little bit. It can actually help a little bit.
I can actually see, I see what you're saying now that you say it out loud. You could kind of pace yourself, recover during that run.
Pretty much. I mean, really what it's about is like you're trying to push your heart right to the point, like your heart rate right to the point where you're almost going to like blow up, but just hold it right there without actually blowing up.
Ride that line.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's figuring out how to just ride that line right there, because it's just, especially in the short one, it's just that short burst. You know, if like you're really good at, you're going to probably be in like that 11 to 13 minute range. So it's not super long, but long enough that it hurts.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, we joke with the strongman cardio, like 60 seconds, and then like that's all I got. 61 seconds, can't do it.
Yeah.
So like, how did you train for that? Let's get into the nitty gritty details of that.
Yeah. So then the actual zones, you got to do 30 reverse lunges is the first one with 55 pounds. It's like a ram is what they call it. It looks like a foam roller, but it's weighted. You can grab it from the sides. 30 of those. After that, you would go into a 500-meter row. After that, let's come after that. Why am I mixing this up? Oh, after that, you have box jump overs. It's a 2-foot box. And so both feet have to touch the top, go either side, 20 of those. After that, you have med ball sit-ups. And the longest one, you actually have to throw it and hit a target. The shorter two, you just like touch it in front of you, 20-pound ball for 25. From there, you do a skier for 500 meters. After that, it's an assault bike. You have to do 25 calories on that. A 60-pound dead ball you throw over your shoulder 20 times. Then there's a tank. So you got to push it down 10 meters, pull it back 10 meters. You repeat that 5 times. So it's a total of 100 meters push and pull. And then the last one is there's another one of those rams. It's 44 pounds and you got to do 20 burpees. You go down, touch your chest, put the thing above your head.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. So it's just to get back to your initial question. Training for it, especially doing all 3, gets a little bit hairy just because there's a lot of different things that you have to hit and a lot of moving parts. Like the longer one, for instance, I mean, you're going from a 11 to 13 minute race to like a 30-minute race.
Right.
And I mean, and that's if you're like pretty much like an elite athlete. I mean, I came in a little bit higher than 30, but it's 33 is still pretty high in like the age group category. I mean, they're pretty low. It's going to be a fast time, but that race definitely favors the runner a lot more.
Yeah.
I did better in the shorter 2 races. Those are the 2 that I took third in. But it's a big mix of stuff, really, to put it all together. So really what I was doing leading up into it, I was doing, because I want to always keep up strength. That's always going to be a great part of athleticism. And I just enjoy doing that. So I would generally do a push day and then a pull day And then after each of those days, I would either do a compromised running workout, which would be running mixed in with some type of anaerobic, stimulus, or I would do some type of like a Metcon or something like that. Then typically the next day would be a day I dedicated just to endurance training. So it could be a really long, like hour-long compromised running workout. It could be intervals, could be like a fast threshold type run. Then the next days I would kind of repeat the push-pull type of Metcon after type thing. Then I would usually do legs on Saturday with some other type of Metcon. And then Sunday would again be a long run because Dave, a mutual friend of ours, and we were training for a marathon at the time too, because I did that about a month before Worlds.
That's
So
awesome.
that would be like a 10 to 20 mile run generally most of those Sundays.
Right. That's very different than what you're doing. Super different.
Yeah, different now. Actually, I opted to go get a coach this year that's specialized in. Her name's like Megan Jacoby. She very impressive. She kind of came in pretty hot last year and did her first high rocks, and then came into Deca and ended up winning the world championships in the elite category for women for the mile for the middle category. That was the only one she had time to qualify for. But yeah, it's been a lot more volume. It's been intense. It's definitely been an adjustment. I mean, it's
Yeah, we
like
talked about that.
it's like 2 to 2.5 hours of intense training most of the days during the week. Then usually on the weekends we're probably like around 3 hours training.
Would you say that's the biggest difference between last year and this year is the amount of volume we're doing now?
Yeah, I would say that's a big difference. Also, it's just, I mean, it is structured a little bit differently where I would just kind of do Metcons of several movements back to back with a like at a high intensity with a like almost like a maximum sustainable pace for whatever those movements were,
Right.
then with a little bit of a longer break and then repeat. And I didn't have as much of this kind of continuous, like every minute on the minute type training and some of these other things that she has set up where it'll be longer duration, similar type of movements and things. But like today, for instance, we did just 5 rounds back to back without stopping of 40 reverse lunges with deca weight, 30 wall balls, which that is really rough doing them. I did legs 2 days ago, so that was
Yeah, of
pretty
course.
After that, 20 med ball sit-ups and then 10 devil's press, and just running that back to back 5 times. Again, it's just half an hour of just
That's
continuous.
brutal.
Yeah.
That sounds brutal. Absolutely. Would you so is every single DekaFit competition the same list of events? Every single one?
Yeah, it doesn't change it. Now, there is a little bit of variance in the races, the 2 shorter races, because there's only maybe like 7 or 8 of the long ones throughout the season.
Okay.
And those are ones that like are actually put on by Deca. They get like a big venue, and like thousands of people will come. Most of the other ones are put on by like smaller affiliate gyms.
I gotcha.
Yes. So the courses, they're not always set up exactly the same. While it's all the same implements and the same distance,
Right.
like at one, you might be running out the door of the gym to like run through the parking lot down and back to get the 160 meters in.
Right.
Some of them are just rolling over onto one. So like the way it was set up at Worlds, like for the strong, the shortest one, it was a significant actual amount of running because they just had it linear to get around each one. So, I mean, it was not set up it wasn't really set up per se for a PR.
Sure. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like just any sort of individual variance by the host or the promoter of the show. Yeah. Strongman's the same way. Like sometimes it'll be like have the weights listed. It'll be like say a car deadlift. We'll have small car, large car. You're like, oh, that's the weight. Okay, cool. Small car. True story, by the way. Definitely true story. Okay. Well, so like, do you practice that specificity a lot, or do you think it's better to kind of be, I don't want to say more well-rounded, but more of a conjugate type of thing where you're training all different variants all the time, or do you kind of like, hey, these are the list of events, I'm training these exact events?
Well, when last year I was definitely doing more of that, just kind of because I just kind of found out what it was, and I was like, I think I could be good at this.
Right.
I'm pretty strong, but and I have pretty good endurance, but I'm not going to be like a competitive distance runner or something like that. And I just decided to try it out. And I was definitely in very good shape going into it, but I mean, it absolutely kicked my ass. And I just realized like this is very different than the type of stuff I've been doing. So I was like, I'm just going to do this stuff.
Yeah,
I was
makes
writing my own
sense.
programming. Yeah. And now we're definitely doing a lot more variations of different stuff. But probably like a month or two out from an important race. At that point, you probably hone it in as far
Right.
as
So it's getting more specific the closer you get.
yeah,
We do the same exact thing. Like
yeah,
12 weeks out, I'm running through the events exactly how they should be done. If not like a different variant. Like I always like doing like say there's an AMRAP at this weight, it's a 60-second AMRAP. I'll do 90 seconds, but like 80% of the comp weight. You're kind
yeah.
of getting a little more time under tension, but lighter weight, lighter load stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like doing stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you also get your body used to like that long stimulus, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
of those continuous reps, which I mean, it's going to be good too.
Yeah, right. Muscular endurance versus muscular strength, right? So
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's not the same thing. Everyone's like, well, if you have a stronger 1RM, then you could be doing 10 reps here. Like, not always, man. I wish it worked that way, but not always.
No, I mean, but if you start to train that, you definitely don't necessarily have to bring your one rep max down necessarily, whatever, to bring that up or I mean, like if you have a strong one rep max and then you start
Oh,
training
yeah,
for
for sure.
muscular endurance, you can retain that max and increase the muscular endurance for
I
sure.
thought it was crazy. Oh, during Matt Fraser's prime of CrossFit, he said his heaviest deadlift, his 1RM for deadlift was 525. Like that's crazy. I'm sure he can dev more whenever he prepped for it, but like that blew me away. I figured, he'd have a crazy strong deadlift, but say he didn't need to. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
I thought I was looking at this picture the other day, and I remember it being right around 500. I thought it might have even said 495, but
I could be totally. It was
525
around there.
would make more sense to me because I was kind of shocked by that as well. I mean, his squat was about the same, I remember
Yeah,
seeing, which is, I mean, that's a pretty damn
good
good
squat.
squat. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I remember being like, wow, I can't believe I can almost deadlift about the same as him.
yeah, I know, but like trying to perform like that motherfucker, almost
No,
impossible.
no, yeah, he's extremely impressive.
So like run us through your comp day at Worlds. What is that like? Actually, it was your first time. So I mean that's even more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's also been just a learning curve of like competing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I wrestled when I was younger, but it's very different than racing and like these long extended bouts, where it's like it's very mental and like you have to figure out pacing and then not being able to actually do the full length or even having all the equipment that is in it at my gym. I don't have a tank. I didn't have a dead ball last year. I
Right.
don't have a ski erg. I don't have an assault bike, which that's really one of the most brutal parts is assault
I've
bike.
heard. I've heard.
Yeah. And then not being able to train for it makes it worse. You just don't know how to pace yourself. So, I mean, that makes it difficult. I just lost track of where we were initially
No,
going.
first of all, I think it's awesome. Think about that. You placed third at the World Championships, and you
Oh,
would have
race
half
day.
the
Yeah.
shit. That's
Yeah.
crazy to me.
No, so there was a bit of a learning curve with that, but race day, I mean, I don't know. I have a pretty crazy protocol that I do as far as like a hyperhydration protocol
Let's hear
before.
it. Let's hear it, man. Tell the
It's,
world.
I forget the exact ratios now, but I'm pretty sure it's 6 grams of salt, 6 grams of glycine, and then I don't put in as much baking soda as it would call for, just because that can kind of disrupt everything
Yeah, I can
in the
imagine.
gut a little bit. And it's best not to do them together. I just do because it'd be way too much to mess around with and all this timing. But the main thing is the salt, baking soda, glycine, water, and then I'll put a little apple cider vinegar in there just to kind of dilute it. And then I generally will just throw my creatine in there. I usually take it after working out, but during a competition day, I'll usually take it first.
Sure.
But I'll put that in like 32 ounces of water, start drinking it like an hour and a half before, and then be done like 45 minutes before. But then the thing that's weird is like you never know exactly when you're going to go out. Like the first day at Worlds, the only one that was running that day was the DekaFit, the longest one. So me and my girlfriend were in Atlantic City, is where they had Worlds, and we get over there where I thought I was going to be like half an hour, 40 minutes early. We talked to Yancey walking. I'm like, who's going off right now? He's like, what age group are you? And he's like, oh, you got to get back there. You got to get back there. And I'm like, what the? I just had to take off. I had to take off my outer layer. I literally had like 2 minutes to warm up, and then I was on the start line.
That's
And then I
crazy.
also had DECA races where you're standing there and your heat time goes by and it's 45 minutes late before you launch. So like trying
Man.
to time the stuff it's kind of a futile effort, you know. But it's a super high amount of camaraderie. You know what I mean? No one, it's like high level of competition and competitiveness, but everyone is super friendly, which is awesome.
Did you do all three? Did you do all three races?
I
Right?
did do all the
Were they
races.
all
Yeah.
one in the same day, or was it different days?
So Saturday was the longest one, the DekaFit, and then Sunday in the morning they had the Deka Strong, the shortest one, and then Deka Mile was in the evening.
Oh, okay. So you had some downtime in between.
Yeah.
What was like during your downtime? What did you do?
For the most part, just went back to the room and chilled out between those two races that day. We went and walked around on Saturday after and checked out some of the outlets and stuff
Sure,
like
sure.
that. Yeah.
Like so just try to just bring the CNS down, calm down. That's something I actually had to realize because in strongman we're there from fucking 10 to 3. You know what I mean? Like so I didn't think about that. Like usually show up and when you're on, you're there for half hour, like you said, the longest race, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
That's
I mean, the
crazy.
nice thing was that they had a deal with the Sheraton that was literally attached to the Atlantic City Convention Center. It had like a little walkway that you could go out. So it was in the middle of the winter, so it was brutal, but we didn't have to drive anywhere. So we could just
That's cool.
we could walk from where the competition was right back to the room, go back, chill out for a little bit, because I absolutely blew myself up in that first race on Sunday. Oh man, I got to the point where I just came out too hot, and I almost at some point, I think I'm probably like, what was that? I would think it was right after the assault bike. I was just thinking, I don't even know how I'm going to finish this. Because I didn't have all the implements. My main thing I would do is I had 5 zones that I would train like back to back. And I would do that like 6 times with like a 2-minute break and then make it faster splits every time going through. And the week before I had done it, I mean, like a minute faster than I'd ever done it, like in a test, just to see how fast I could do it. So I was thinking that I was trying to get like a sub 12-minute pace, which would, I mean, be on par with like the pro elite athletes. And just came out too hot. And the real race is the second half. And so I was in first until like the 6th zone. And then just a couple people blew past me. And I was actually in 5th place going into the last zone, I think.
Okay.
And I could just hammer those burpees out for some reason, but I was having a severe mental battle. I was like, really like, I don't know how I'm going to get through it. And I just said, it doesn't matter. And then when it really clicked was when I was just got over there and started doing the burpees, and I smiled at this kid, and I could just see he just broke. And I'd like just smile at him, and I could just see, and I was like, all right. And I just started just hammering. But when
Take
I
the
got
ground while
over
you
the
can.
line, I fell, I laid down, my kidneys were hurting. Like I was in rough shape. I was legitimately like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to race in tonight's night or in tonight's race. But by the time it came around, I was feeling a little better, but I still just felt weird.
Oh, so you still felt it
And
even how many hours was it in between?
I think that heat was at like 10. And then the next one, I think, was at like 4 or 5.
Oh, so it fucked you up.
Oh, dude, I was hurting. And then the next race, I was just like, you know what? I was standing there on the line. I was just like, just run your own race. You've
Yeah.
seen so many people this weekend go out hot, get ahead, and then blow up. And I was like, just run your own race. And I did, and it ended up working out. I mean, I had to come from behind in that one too, but a lot of the other guys were running too fast. And I just kept my steady pace and just ended up passing some of them. And then again in the burpees, passed a guy to come into third.
So that's your event then, the burpees. You must be fast at them.
Yeah. And I think that might be part of where like I really end up blowing myself up just because I don't know. There's something that happened the first time I did a Spartan race where there's like a switch flips in me, man, when I'm out there competing with other people. And it's
Oh
just
yeah.
like, you will not out suffer me. I don't know what it is. That's just like, I think that's why I get a kick out of doing these races. But
Yeah.
I also think part of the thing with the burpees is I have a pretty strong deadlift, probably stronger than most of the people in the field.
Yeah, I would assume
I
so
think
too.
having that strength and that power just to like lift it up, because a lot of the people who are more runners rather than CrossFitters, you know what I mean? It's like 44 pounds doesn't sound like a ton, but
Yeah, yeah. To
when
them it
after
is.
running after running that whole race and then doing 20 of them, I mean, it definitely helps to be able to get it up there. And then you just slam that sucker down.
Yeah, right. As fast as possible.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But after that, you pretty much just fall across the line. So it's just like you're leaving it all out there.
And you do like from just training with you. I know you have a good capacity, and I feel like having a good capacity, I feel like just gets you through that grit. You know that helps in any competition. I'm kind of the same way. Like I'm not be the strongest, I'm not the most athletic, but like I'll fucking outwork somebody. You know what I mean? Like I have no problem
Yeah.
going until I'm done until I'll
Mm-hmm.
fucking go till I die. You know, that's just how it goes. I love that too. Like even just watching you do like heavy ass farmer carries, like you're like, I'm gonna your deadlift might take you a few seconds to get up, but you get it up and you fucking walk with it. You know, that's badass, dude. That's like just for the record. I saw this motherfucker do 250 per hand farmers carries. It's what second, third time maybe doing farmers ever.
I
And
mean, doing heavy farmers like that, I do
yeah,
have.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I totally left out. There's farmers carries in the race too. I don't know how I left that one out.
Are they
But
dumbbells?
dumbbells, yeah,
Dumbbells are brutal, man. Dumbbells
yeah.
are fucking
They're
hard.
60 pounders for 100 meters. But the
Honestly,
heavy
they start
farmers,
rolling out of your hands really easy with the dumbbells.
yeah, your hands are sweaty at that point too.
Yeah, yeah, I can. I didn't even think about that. You're not like you're chalking up or anything. Can
No,
you? Or I mean, I guess you could if you wanted to waste time.
I mean high rocks. That's a similar competition. I think a lot of the people do. They use kettlebells there,
Okay.
but I've never seen anyone do it in Deca.
I wonder if you
But
could just use liquid chalk before you start, since that shit like kind of dries on. Might be something.
might be able to. I mean, I have these shorts that have like a little loop. You might be able to loop it on there.
I meant just in the beginning before the race, not doing it while I don't. I
Oh
wouldn't.
yeah, it wouldn't dry while you're in the middle of a race.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
But it would help on like the dead balls too, because sometimes your hands are real sweaty. Those things can start slipping.
I can yeah, especially because are they leather or are they rubber?
Rubber.
Oh, okay,
It's kind of
gotcha.
texturized a little bit, and there's like
Okay.
some ribs that
Still
go
though, man, your
around it.
hands get sweaty. That I'm sure it'll slip right
Mhm.
out. So I wanted to ask you, you had a few hours in between first and second race. What was like what were you eating? That's my big question. Like what were you eating? Were you supplementing? What were your ways to try to recover?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think what I did eat after. So I tried to bring as much food as I could.
Yeah.
We flew, it's a very long drive from Cleveland, Ohio to Atlantic City.
Yeah, just a little bit.
And but I brought like mackerel, microwave rices.
Okay.
I think that's what I ate canned mackerel, microwave rices. I brought several things of like instant steel cut oatmeal, some berries, some bananas, stuff like that. I did bring like some little honey packets. Um, I brought some protein powders and stuff like that just so I could make sure I was getting enough calories.
Right, right. So a lot of quick carbs, right? Or I guess not all quick, but a lot of carbs.
Yeah, I mean a lot of MCT oil too. I mean just
Okay, yeah.
stuff like that that like travels well and it's just easy to use.
Sure.
But no, but I mean there definitely had to make sure so there was protein going, and I was still trying to hit like at least 160 grams a day.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
So what like how is that going to change? I was gonna kind of brings me to my next question. What are your plans for the rest of the year?
I mean, so as of right now, we have the Festivus games that we're going to
Yeah,
be doing coming up
we'll
in
see how that
April.
goes.
I'm excited, man. I think
I've
it's going to
trained
be.
zero cardio. I hit the row machine like 4 times, and I told you about it all the times I've done it.
Do you guys have a wall ball thing? Or like, do you have any balls like that? Because you could just do it against a
We have
wall.
like a 12-pound ball, and we did against the pillar one time, but the gym owner gets a little crabby about that stuff.
Okay, that's definitely one that like you're going to want to train a little bit because at first it's like because it's 21 is the first watt. It's 21:15:9.
Yeah.
That with the hang snatches with 95 pounds, but it's just a stimulus that it's like it doesn't take long, but like if you train it for 2 or 3 weeks, just even like once a week, you'll build a way higher capacity in it. But when I first started doing them this year, I was like, God damn, I was like, these things are hard.
That's a little scary for me. I guess I should. I was thinking like sometime I knew you're gonna laugh. Like 4 weeks out, I was gonna start trying to train it. I've been fucking lazy, man. I really need to just pull. Even if I just pull the row machine in, do a 500-meter row, and then hit my farmer's carries or something strongman oriented, like that still will do the trick. I mean, it's something.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
practice those hang snatches a little bit. And, I actually asked the CrossFit gentleman how to cycle that barbell correctly because it was like I was coming straight down instead of cutting like down and down and down. And so hopefully I have a better idea how to do that.
Yeah. What I did this week that was a nice way to kind of work through that one. I did like a 12-minute EMOM where it was like 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds off, and then you
Okay.
switch between the wall balls and then the hang snatches. And so I was shooting for like 12 hang snatches and around like 22 wall balls I was getting per one. But the nice thing is, it's like when you do it that way and you give yourself that 15 seconds to like transition between the movements, it's like you can kind of build that capacity because you get that
Yeah.
little bit of time to recover, and then you can keep the stimulus going much longer than if you just did it all back to back.
I like that. I'm gonna do probably exactly that. Are those two the hardest ones for you, the wall balls and snatches?
I mean, I just am the least familiar with the snatches, but the wall ball is just a good tool for what I'm the type of stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
it's also a thing in high rocks, which I definitely want to do at some point. It's a similar race. It's a little bit longer. The actual functional zones are longer. It's a 5 mile race, and it finishes with 100 wall balls.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that part of your plans this year or no?
I don't know. It's just there's already going to be so much travel just to get these races done that I want to,
Yeah,
you know.
When is DECA this year?
So actually, there is a Deca Mile that popped up in Pittsburgh the week after the Festivus games. So
Oh,
I may
okay.
do that. We'll see if Dave and I may go do that.
Gotcha.
Then otherwise, it would be the week before the strongman competition.
So are you still
Yeah.
planning on doing the strongman?
I think I'm probably going to do it. I mean, I've had this little tweak in my back. It's felt a little better after I went to the chiropractor this week. I'm going back again this next week. And as long as that's feeling good, I'm definitely game to do it.
I would love to see you out there for sure. I think you would kill it. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy doing that type of stuff.
I know
Like
you're good at it too.
doing strength work is honestly way more fun to me, but there's just some weird kick I get out of like forcing myself to do this stuff that I don't want to do.
I get it. Like, I don't really do that stuff a lot, but whenever like let's say I go do a Murph, I'm always down to jump into a Murph. Like I feel just amazing that whole day. Like afterwards. It doesn't like beat me up in a way that like, the heavy weights do. And just I don't know. I feel like and like it's just that when you can hear your own breathing hard, it's just something about that it hits different. You're
Yeah.
just sitting there just suffering. Like you said, suffering, just you hear yourself just huffing and puffing. It's awesome.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm a big believer that just like doing hard things in general is huge for building a feeling of self-worth. And I think just doing fitness in general is like that. This is just something that for me definitely builds that muscle.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think just doing those little like the little accomplishments in the morning or whenever you train or whatever. But yeah, it just sets you up for success. And then like obviously there's endorphins that release with physical fitness and all that stuff that's been proven.
Yeah, and then it's just like the knowing in your head that you're not going to give up when things get hard. I think that translates to like other areas of life, or like you just build the reputation with yourself that you keep the promises that you make to yourself.
Yeah, sure, sure. And speaking of that, like doing shit hard, like you jump into a powerlifting meet very soon after Worlds. Like let's talk about that for a little bit. How was that for you? Going from this extreme to this extreme.
I mean, it was fun, and it was nice to change it up because I had just been training what I thought was really hard up until now. How I'm training, but but no, it was really fun. It was a nice change of pace because I was able to just get into slower workouts. You know what I mean? Just low volume, or low reps, high weight. I mean, I find that to be a lot more fun, to be honest.
Sure.
And just being in that atmosphere, with everybody, and then like having some other friends there that I was competing with, because most of the decas I've done myself. Dave went with me once, but just that camaraderie is awesome.
Yo, yeah. Look, we were there. It's so cool how very people competing against you are helping you. Strongman's the same
Yeah,
way too.
yeah.
I
You see
I love that.
a little bit of that with Deca. But when we were at that powerlifting competition, it was a little bit of a weird thing because it's like you just see everyone putting up these crazy numbers, and it was like I didn't even hit PRs, but I mean, I only really trained for it for like 2 weeks and was doing
Yeah.
all this other like endurance work, but that also just kind of lit a fire under my ass to be like, all right, we got to get strong again.
Yeah, sure, sure. And like like you said, they're very, very different. Like I'm just like if I went to DekaFit, I mean, like probably get a 35-minute time on the short one, you know, like so it's just not used to it. So I mean, that's it's very acceptable. I think it's just badass you did it. I think it's badass you're gonna jump in, you're possibly gonna jump in a strongman a week after Deka Worlds, right? I think it's a week.
No, this isn't Deca Worlds.
Oh, sorry.
This is just what it would need. You got to qualify first, so I got to go put up times that would be top 12. I mean, this year I want to qualify for at least one of like the pro elite category races at Worlds, and then I'd like to take first in the age group categories and
Hell
the
yeah,
other.
man. You should say
But
you're not gonna, you don't want to do it. You're going to do it.
yeah, I mean that's the goal. But
Go
I do plan on doing it,
for sure, for sure. Heck yeah,
which is
man.
why
So
I got a coach. And I did kind of like going with her as well because she's extremely strong. So I knew that there was still going to be a big strength incorporation in all this, which she is also as a D1 runner. And running is the thing I need to improve the most at like the longer length one, because I'm definitely more of like the strength side,
yeah,
muscular side. But I knew that wasn't going to be compromised or taken out.
sure, sure, sure. So what are your goals for training and what are your goals for this year for fitness? Kind of a good ending point.
Yeah, I mean, as far as goals, I mean, like the most measurable things, I could think of as my main goals that I'm going for are, those DECA goals, getting into an elite race, taking first in the other age group races. And I do want to achieve like a certain time levels. I mean, I do want to get that sub 12-minute time for the DECA strong. I'd like to get under 19 in the DECA mile. And then I would like to at least get sub 33 in the DECA fit, because I just think that's what it would take to win my age group.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you have any good goals for as a strength wise?
Strength. I mean, I'd like to get my deadlift back up to over 500. I'd like to get my squat to 405 again for
Hell
sure.
yeah. I think that would benefit, I think, Deca too. Like you said, just having that higher red line, right? That higher strength red line makes everything else
Oh,
feel lighter.
yeah, definitely. I mean, which even though I mean everything I've been doing, I've actually maintained like my caloric intake when I was doing like a bulk and strength thing over the winter, and I've still been losing weight since having this like increase in volume of just overall activity. And I'm down about 6 pounds, but my bench was still up. I mean, at least 5 pound PR for a three rep pause flat bench.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, this past week. So I still hoping that I can still increasing my numbers because I'm pretty much right there at
Yeah,
about
sure, sure.
right within striking distance of 500 and 405 again.
I definitely believe you have. I mean, like I said, 250 farmers, that's 500. I know it's a different kind of pickup, but your body can obviously handle it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, man. Well, I think this is a good wrapping up point right here. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you listening and have a great day.